Today, we're going to be looking at the top places in Latin America where people are going for remote work. And we're also going to be talking about the flip side on how remote work can possibly negatively affect different communities in different countries. Stay tuned for the full episode. We're going to get right into it.
Welcome to the Latin Wealth Podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating the Latino community about entrepreneurship, investing, and business.
What's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday on the Latin Wealth Podcast. Hopefully, you guys are blessed and doing well. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you've been a consistent listener, appreciate you guys being here. If you guys could do us a huge favor, share this episode with one person that needs to hear Latin Wealth. It would greatly be appreciated. On today's episode, we're going to dive right into it today. We're going to be talking about why remote workers are flocking to Latin America, right? Now, as we know, during COVID-19 and the pandemic, that opened up doors for global remote work. People were at home, locked in at home, remote work, remote positions were massively available. Pretty much every company was offering some type of remote work. And as we've seen over the years, it kind of transitioned. People have transitioned back into the office, and some people actually have continued to work remotely, right? Um, Now, what's very interesting is, people have went all over the place when it comes to remote work. They went to different cities, different states, and there's a lot of people that actually went to different countries, right? So you see people that go to Asia, they'll go to Europe, and you'll also see a huge population of people that have been going to South America, which in turn, it sounds like everybody's kind of winning because you have people that have typically US dollars or they have euros and they're going to places in South America to stay there, stay at Airbnb, stay at hotels, spend money at the restaurant. So typically on the surface, it could be a good thing for the economy. And it's also a good thing for the digital nomad because they're able to be flexible, experience the culture, experience the country, and they're also able to work as well. Uh, Again, later on in the episode, we'll be breaking down why that can possibly be a negative thing. But what we're going to look at real quick is I'm going to share my screen and we're going to be looking at some of the top places where people are going for remote work. All right. So shout out to Latino Metrics. They always do a phenomenal job of taking information, data, and putting it into a visually appealing um, chart for us to look at and break down and dissect. So the name of this chart is top ranked Latin American cities for digital nomads. If you are listening to this podcast, I would highly suggest you go to YouTube, watch the video so you can kind of see what we're breaking down. I'll do my best to explain it for those that are listening. If you look at the left side of the graph, it's there's numbers that are from $500 to $4,500. This is breaking down the monthly spend in US dollars. So the amount of money that people are spending in these different countries. At the bottom, it goes from 20 to 240. This is labeled as global ranked by nomads.com. Not sure exactly what they mean by that, but nonetheless, um, all the cities and countries within this graph are essentially the most popular places where people are going for remote work. In addition, something else that's very important is there's also a section on here that has internet speed. So for those that are watching anything that is all these little circles, kind of goes from white to light blue, dark blue, and that's breaking down the internet speed, the strength of the internet speed, which is very important when you go to these different countries. If you're working remotely, you got to make sure you have good internet speed, right? So, and a lot of times these Airbnbs and hotels, they do a great job of listing off what the speed is, and if they have internet, if they have Wi-Fi, if they have reliable Wi-Fi. I know my wife and I, we did do a little traveling post pandemic. I think it was around 2023, went to a couple different countries in South America, and that was very important for us because we were still working and we needed strong internet speed, right? So some of the most popular countries for remote work are definitely going to be Mexico, Brazil, Argentina is in here, and then you have some countries like Colombia, Costa Rica. You even have Uruguay in here. El Salvador, of course, is in here. Dominican Republic. So a lot of phenomenal countries, a lot of countries that I want to go to as well. But we'll pick out a couple of these that are pretty interesting. We'll look at Uruguay. People here are spending more money, right? Whether it's on food, different expenses, Airbnbs, hotels, but they get stronger internet speed. So this may be a place that is a little bit more desirable because, um, again, it's they have good internet speed, right? And then if you come down to like a Chile, where I think this one's like the darkest color. This place is actually a lot cheaper. People are spending a lot less money, I should say, in Chile, and they have strong internet speed. So this is a desirable place. And you can even come down to Mexico City, where it's about the $2,000 mark, decent internet speed, and it ranks lower on the global ranks as well. So this is probably one of the more desirable places that people are going to for remote work. Now, speaking about Mexico City, we have to talk about the inverse of what is going on in these different countries, right? So we're not going to exactly go down this specific article because there's plenty of articles that have came out that are breaking down like there are protesters in Mexico cities that are, they're pushing back on some of these some of these remote workers and some people that are actually moving to Mexico City, um, because it's causing gentrification. Now, specifically targeting Americans that are moving from America to Mexico City to start a new life there or even work there for an extended period of time. Now, my wife and I went to Mexico City this year, and you can see it. You can walk around and you can see the gentrification. And I'm laughing because it's crazy how quickly it spreads. You go into these different areas like Condesa, Roma Norte, and you see these areas that are being gentrified by whether there's Americans or Europeans or whoever they are. They're kind of taking over these neighborhoods, and it's causing disruption for people that live there, for the local community. Now again, for the economy, it could be a great thing. People are coming in, people are traveling, visiting, spending money, going to these restaurants, Airbnbs, hotels are being booked and whatnot. But what's going on with the people that live there locally, right? So yes, this is some recent protest that has been going on in Mexico cities, and then you're seeing different signs and people that are saying "Gringo, go home," speak Spanish or die. Like there's people are making these signs and whatnot, and they're doing their best to push back on what's going on as far as the remote work and people moving to Mexico City. Again, you're seeing rent prices that are surging. Families are being displaced. Housing affordability has dropped since the year 2000, and property prices have increased in a lot of these areas, specifically areas like Condesa, Roma Norte, and different parts of Mexico City. These communities are becoming a lot more expensive, and they are becoming harder for people to live there, especially the ones that grew up in that area. So I'm actually going to close this real quick so I don't get distracted. Boom, and we'll come back here. Now this is all very interesting to me, especially it's going to be interesting to see how the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinberg, how she responds to all of this, because I'm sure she wants people coming in, spending money with the country, She wants tourism to continue to grow. I'm sure she wants people to come in here and invest in Mexico, but she also has to acknowledge the pricing issues in these areas, right? And it's gonna be interesting to see how Mexico responds to some of this, right? So let's break this down. I want to break this down. If you're wondering, like, okay, what is exactly the benefit? Maybe you've never traveled too much. Maybe you never thought about working remotely. Like, what is the benefits for these digital nomads? So if you think about some of the benefits for digital nomads, again, these are people that are coming from countries such as the United States or Europe, where they have the U.S. dollar or they have the euro. They can go to these different countries where there's lower cost of living, where that equals to more savings for the digital nomads. Again, earlier on in the episode, I mentioned that culturally, these people get to experience more when they go to different countries and a different type of lifestyle when they are remote workers, right? In addition, as I've been saying throughout this episode, this can also stimulate local economies, restaurants, rental services, you know, people selling products, people selling services. This can help with all of that, right? In addition, it can also create business opportunities in Latin America, which we're seeing happen a lot out there, right? We're seeing people wanting to invest in real estate. They're like, hey, living in DR isn't so bad. It's beautiful out here. Let me go ahead and buy property in the Dominican Republic, right? You know what? Living out here isn't so bad. Let me see who I can partner with to start a business out here, right? What tech company can we create and start and build in Costa Rica, right? So you're seeing a lot of that in different countries, and it's to be honest, it's just gonna grow even more. I think again, we talk about the American dream a lot on this podcast and people's perception of it. This is only going to continue to spread. There's going to be different pockets of the world where people are living, developing communities, and I think more people are going to flock there, such as Mexico City, Brazil, Argentina. We talk a lot about El Salvador. We talk a lot about now. Why doesn't it make sense for the locals? As we mentioned, this is going to all also drive up rent prices and food prices, right? Because these countries they want to capitalize on the amount of people that are coming in and the influx of people that are coming in. Real estate's going to be more expensive. Long time residents, again, people that have lived in these communities are eventually going to be priced out. This is also an issue in places like Puerto Rico where people are coming in, creating Airbnbs or they're buying distressed properties, creating Airbnbs out of them, and they're driving up the price of the properties in that area, right? The cost of living in that area. And locals are clearly not happy about that and totally understand why they wouldn't be, right? Now, um, the interesting thing about all of this as we start to conclude this conversation is what is the balance? What is the middle point, right? Is gentrification, is it inevitable in these different places? Is there some type of balance that we can have? I know Japan, I've been to Japan multiple times. What they're going to start implementing in 2026 or 2027, I think they're going to start implementing a tax, a tourism tax. So if you're coming from a different country and you're visiting, you're going to get taxed a little bit more on different products and services, just because, look, the tourism out there is just busting out the seams, and rightfully so. These countries want to capitalize on these opportunities of people coming in, and I'm not mad at that. I'm really not mad at that. Like I think there's a lot of people that are like, oh, places like Japan are going to be even more expensive to go to visit to be a digital nomad if that's what you desire. But you can't be mad at people wanting to take advantage of the influx of people coming in, the influx of money coming in. And I wouldn't be mad to see that Mexico City they have some type of tourism tax, right? But I want to know you guys' opinion on this, right? Whether you're living in a country that's being affected by gentrification. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on these digital nomads or people that are working remotely? What are your thoughts about, Americans, Europeans coming to these different countries and buying real estate? I'm very interested to know what you guys' thoughts are. If you guys want to leave a comment down below, um, I'd love to have a dialogue with you and for you to give us some perspective. If there's something that I said during this episode that you don't agree with, please let me know. I'm always open to having a discussion about it. And stay tuned until next week's episode because we're going to be talking more about how Latin America is using AI to change the game and business. And we're even going to teach you a couple different tools that you can use to help you in your business when it comes to AI. So, with that being said, it's the Live Most Family. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.